So, very warm welcome to all of you on the day one of Selenium WebDriver and Java training by 5 Elements Learning. Some basic instructions before the class starts. The class is generally going to be between 90 to 120 minutes. In between the class, there will be logical breaks where you can ask me questions. You need to ensure that your mic is working and so are your speakers so that you guys can hear me and can communicate with me effectively. After the session is over, the PPT, the recording of the session, the exercises, assignment, and the notes, whatever is generated will be shared with you. You can direct your queries to info@5elementslearning.com. But before we begin with the session, I would like you guys to briefly tell me about yourself, as in how many years of experience you have and what kind of role you have done in your career, as in what's your current role in your career. Are you a manual tester, or you are an automation person? Are you a lead or a project manager? So kindly introduce yourself. Okay, Harry, that's great. Good to know about you. Sana, can you please let me know about yourself? Okay, thanks, Sana. So, little bit about me. My name is Pallavi. I have around 11 years of experience in the field of software testing, primarily working with open source automation tools and non-functional tools. I also hold provisional patent for developing a tool agnostic platform over test automation tools. I've been into delivering training and project consultation for the past 6 years now, and this is our very first batch with 5 Elements Learning, which is my own. Earlier, I used to collaborate with other organizations and deliver the training. So thank you so much for joining the batch. And I believe, Harry, you have learned from me BDD Cucumber when you were with the STH, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, okay, great. Fine then. So let's begin with this session. So today we are going to talk about what exactly do we understand by test automation, why open source test automation. We will be having an introduction to the various tools of test automation, and finally we'll be talking about Selenium. So when we talk about testing as an activity, what do you think testing means? What is testing? So testing is an activity which basically tells you whether your expected meets the actual or not. In very simple terms, we are basically trying to find out whether what we expect from the system, from the product, Is it behaving the same under a given circumstances or not, given some conditions, some input? And if the expected is not meeting the actual, what we call it as a defect or a deviation from the normal or a bug. Okay. So when expected does not meet the actual, you get a bug. Okay. So what is the objective of testing? The objective of testing is to basically find out if whatever is expected from the system, from the product, is meeting the actual is also being done in reality or not. Okay. And then with every build release, there are a few activities which are going to happen. One is new feature development, another is fixing of the bugs in the old feature. Okay. Largely speaking, these are the two main activities which happen with every build release. So what about testing? In testing, do we test the features which we have already tested in a prior build? Do we test them again in the new build release, whether they're working or not? Or we just test the new features and we test for the bugs? So, rightly said Harry, what we do is we do a regression test. So regression testing basically says that with every build release, you will have to retest the features which you have already tested, because it's highly possible that because of the new feature development or bug fixing, some of the priorly working features which are working before are not working now. Okay, so regression testing is very important, and it is this test cases which basically form an ideal subset for automation. Okay, so regression test scenarios What do you mean by the word automation? Automation basically means any activity where a machine has replaced a man. Okay, any activity where a machine has replaced a man is basically automation. Example wheel, example cars, example calculator, computer, etc., etc. All these are examples of automation. And what do you mean by the word automation testing? It refers to the set of activities and efforts that intend to automate the engineering task and operations in a software test process using well-defined strategies and the systematic solution. What is the purpose? Why do we want to achieve automation, or why do we want to do automation? Because we want to decrease the cost it takes for us to test a product. We want to decrease the time to deliver the product. We want effective utilization of resources, and we want to reduce the redundancy of the task. So basically, you need to understand that a human mind is not meant for repetitive activity, okay? But regression, which is activity which has to be done with every build release, is indeed a repetitive activity, okay? So, and secondly, as the product undergoes development, the scenarios for regression are going to increase. The scenarios for testing are going to increase. So we cannot keep on adding members in our testing team so as to meet the duration for the testing cycle, thus increasing the cost. So we replace the effort which is required by the tester by a script which we have automated, and then we are able to reduce our cost because we are able to utilize a lot of time in a day, including the night time. It doesn't get tired because it's a machine. It will not get tired. The tendency to introduce error because of repetition of an activity is zero when a machine is working, but pretty high when a man is working, when a tester is working. Okay, and thus we are able to achieve a faster go to market. So that's why automation is introduced in our testing cycles. But we need to understand that 100% test automation is never possible. You cannot do 100% test automation. Automation of a testing cycle doesn't mean replacing your manual testers. It just means that they can be better utilized to do the job of testing. So, generally speaking, we will be able to find out that 50 to 60% of test cases in a product are good candidates for automation. Okay. Any questions in here? Okay, no questions. Let's move ahead. So, what are the requirements for doing test automation? We should have a dedicated workforce available. So, generally speaking, you should not try and match manual testers to also do automation. You should try and have a different team for automation. So, there should be a dedicated workforce. A dedicated budget and schedule should be allocated for the automation activity. So, it is not an activity which you can just start in an ad hoc manner, and that's why you should have a well defined strategy and plan. And to perform this activity we would require help of some testing tools, knowledge of some programming language. So you should have available trained human resources. There should be a buy-in from your senior management. They should be aware of this activity getting started, and effective tools for creation and maintenance should be available. So So you will find out that there are a lot of different tools available in the market which can help you achieve testing. So there are broadly classified as the commercial tools and the open source tools. So commercial tools are UFT from HP. So QTP is now known as UFT. You have Smart Beer Test Complete. You have RFT from IBM and you have Borland Silk. Then in the open source world, you have got Water, Sahi, Selenium, and Soap UI. Out of all these tools, our area of interest is Selenium. So Selenium is basically an open source tools and there is a benefit associated with open source tools. Primarily being they are of extremely low cost. For using many of the open source tools, you do not pay even a single penny. For example, Selenium, you do not pay anything to procure that tool. You just download it, okay? And you start using it in your um, tests. Then they are customizable. You have faster time to market. There is an ease of procurement and there is a sense of contributing back to the community. Why do I say there is ease of procurement? So there is no sales teams which are involved. Okay, you can just directly go and pick it up off the shelf. So links of some of the tools and a link talking about the large variety of open source tools available out there is in here. And rest, you can have a look at the different tools. Out of them, our area of interest is Selenium. So I'm going to open this link here. I'm going to share it with you guys so that you can open it on your systems. So when you look at this particular page, you will find out that you have got this page divided into projects. So there are different projects available like Selenium WebDriver, Grid, IDE, Selenium RC. You have got to go to the download section. So here in the download, you can go ahead and download the standalone server, the Internet Explorer driver, the Selenium client, and WebDriver language bindings, etc. We will talk about that in detail. Then we come to the documentation. Now this documentation link is extremely important because you will find out that this is the best set of tutorials you will find on Selenium on the net. Okay, so whatever we talk about, try to read about those topics when you look at this page for that day. And you can choose different programming languages for you to display the same example. Then we come to the support. Here it talks about from where we can get help, the user group, the chat room, the bug tracker, and who all provide the commercial support. And in the about, we have got news blog, Selenium events, sponsor, getting involved, etc. So this is our Selenium website which we are going to use now and then to download, to have a look at some of the documentation part and in general about some news or activity. So what exactly is Selenium or why Selenium became popular? So we have come to know that Selenium is a portable software testing set of projects to test web applications. It is not a standalone tool. It is a combination of different components which allow us to perform functional testing on web applications. Do you guys know what do we mean by the functional testing and non-functional testing? So basically, when we say yeah, that's right, Kathy. The answer which you have given. That functional basically means to test the behavior of the system from the end user perspective, how the system behaves or functions in a given situation for different scenarios. Whereas non-functional testing primarily deals with the performance of the system, security of the system, and with the compliance of the system. So Selenium is effectively used for functional testing of web applications, and it is an open source tool. The test can be written down as HTML tables and in different programming languages. We can use Selenium on different operating systems, and it is generally used for the user acceptance test. So Selenium was invented by Jason R. Huggins and his team, and its original name was JavaScript Functional Tester. So then it was released to the open source world, and since then managed by different people across the globe on the voluntary activity. So what are the different features which Selenium has, making Selenium a very popular functional testing tool? So Selenium supports multiple programming languages. So you can work in Selenium in PHP, in Ruby, in Java, in Python. Okay, so you can use these different programming languages to work with Selenium. You can run your test on different browsers, whether it is IE, Chrome, or Safari, or Opera. And Selenium test can also run on multiple operating systems like Linux, Macintosh, Windows, etc. So it's an open source software which is released under the Apache 2.0 license, and it can be downloaded and used without paying any single penny to anyone. Any questions? Okay. So, as I've mentioned before, Selenium is basically not a single component, but there are four components, four important components of Selenium. So you have got Selenium IDE, Selenium RC, Selenium Grid, and Selenium. Now we are going to talk about Selenium 3.0 from this course, which is basically the WebDriver. So Selenium IDE is effectively a record and a playback um, component which works as a Firefox API. It allows us to record the test and replay it back, and it also allows us to export the test recorded in different programming languages. Selenium RC is now no longer used in the product or in the projects. It was basically also known as Selenium 1.0, and it works using the client and the proxy server model. So in Selenium RC, a JavaScript engine is pushed into the browser to act as a proxy server, so that whenever we want to communicate to the browser, we communicate to the browser via this proxy server. So it's like a three-way handshake. We send command to the server, proxy server, which processes it, sends to the browser, which drives the command and send back the result. So it's like a three-way handshake. Whereas in Selenium WebDriver, which was introduced recently, we have browser's own API. So browser's own API is used to drive the browser. So every browser has got its own application programming interface, which is known as WebDriver. And the Selenium WebDriver basically uses that browser's native support to automate the browser. Okay, so WebDriver provides better control over the browser, and it's more effective. Um, Hari, I'll just answer your question. Then we have got Selenium Grid. So Selenium Grid is a component which underlyingly uses Selenium RC to establish what we call as a hub and a node, and it allows us to run the test in parallel. Okay. So when we create a grid-like structure using Selenium Grid, we generally have a hub which is receiving all the requests, and then we have got different nodes which are machine browser combination. So whichever machine browser combination matches with the requested test on that particular machine, the test will be executed. So this allows us to run the test in parallel. So we have a question: out of the four components which we have seen, which one is most um, used? So Selenium WebDriver is one of the most used component, Harry. And after that we have Selenium IDE. Selenium RC and Grid are used very less. Okay. Any other question? Okay. So before we start learning about Selenium IDE, there is this application which is available. I would want all of you to open. So I'm going to share this application with you. It's basically an OS Commerce website which we have implemented on our system to provide you guys a real-time application to work upon. Okay. So it's basically a e-commerce application which allows us to perform different roles. So you can first go to the My Account link and go to the continue button here to register yourself as a new user. So provide your registration details, ensure you have filled all the mandatory details, and then once you have been able to create a user, you have to go here and log in. Once you have logged into the system, you can have a look at the different activities you can do with your account. So you can change your account information, you can change your password, you can change entries in your address book, you can view the orders you have made, or you can go to the quick link and search for a product Unreal and go ahead and buy it as well. So we can go ahead and do the scenarios of adding to the cart, checkout. selecting that we would want cash on delivery, and then we continue and place the order. So these are some of the scenarios which I've shown you, which are available with the web application. So we have got the scenarios from the demo site as register user, B login logout, C change my account password, info, okay, so these are some of the scenarios from our website. So I would request you all to go ahead and open it and just spend some 5 minutes on it and get familiar with it. Okay, please do that. And while you are exploring, go ahead and create your user ID. So go to register user and create your user ID on the website. Okay, so I hope you all have had a good look at the website. Okay, great. So let's pick up a scenario. I'm going to just write down the steps of the test cases, but I'm not going to use any validation, just the test steps. I hope you guys understand and you guys know that a test case contains two important components. One is test step, the other is the validation, okay? And then obviously you have got the test data and expected, etc., etc. But the two main components which form a test case are the test steps and the validation. So basically, test steps allow you to understand that you have performed an action, whereas validation helps you validate the action, whether it is as per your expectations or you're not. Okay, so I'm going to quickly jot down the steps for login logout activity. So before we start with automation, we should have our test cases available with us. So we should have the manual test cases available with us. So the steps were login, log out, open the application, click my account link, type username, type password, click sign in button, then click log off link, click the continue button. So this is the scenario for the login logout. I have not used any validations to do it. Okay. Now what is your first assignment? Your first assignment is to write down the manual test cases. You can use any format which you like and have that documentation available with you. So you have to write down the manual test cases of the flows which we have just discussed. If you find some more flows in the application, feel free to add them to this list. Okay. So far so good. We have our manual test case ready. We have seen how the application behaves, and we have all been able to create the user, and which will allow us to log into the application and log out. Now we will talk about how do we get and install Selenium IDE on our system. To install Selenium IDE on your system, you should first have the Firefox browser. So open the Firefox browser. Please do not do these steps along with me. Pay attention to what I'm doing, and then I'll give you time to do it, okay? Otherwise, when you will lose focus. So launch the Firefox browser, and this is the URL. It's an add-on, as I've explained, on the Firefox browser. So go to this link. Here. In this, you will go ahead and click and say add to Firefox, and it will get added into the Firefox browser. Then click on install and allow the Firefox browser to restart. So this is the URL for installing and getting Selenium IDE on our system. But remember that you have to have it launched on the Firefox browser. So go ahead and do it. So all of you try this out and get to do this. And we'll take a short break along with this. So we'll take a break of 5 minutes, and after that we will resume the session and see how we can record our very first script of login logout using Selenium IDE. So I'll see you guys in the next 5 minutes. Thank you. So resuming the session, I hope you all are able to hear me and see the screen. So now once you have installed the IDE on your Firefox browser, you should be able to see an icon like this on the toolbar. So click on it to uh, pop out the Selenium IDE. And by default, it will be launched in the recording mode like this. Okay? So when we record the scenarios, we are basically going to perform our steps like we have done manually. Those steps will be captured here in this particular segment. And here, when we save it, it will be called as a test case. So let's record the steps and then later we will talk about more components of this particular pop-out. So what were the steps? Click on my account link. Don't do it uh, on your systems right now. Pay attention to what I'm doing. Click on the sign in button, then log off and continue. So you have been able to perform the steps. Now stop the recording. Here go to file, say save test case, and go to the folder where you want the test to be saved. Go ahead and click on this icon. This is the play icon to play the current test case, and you will find out that it has automated and successfully executed the login logout scenario. Here in the log window, you can see the different steps getting executed. In the reference window, you can go ahead and click on any command and understand what this command is all about, what kind of inputs does it take, and what is that it provides you as an output. So these windows are pretty helpful. This is the name of the test case. When we click on a test case, the particular test case with its steps will get populated in here. Okay. Clicking on play icon will run the test case. Clicking on this pause icon will pause the test case execution, and then you can click on this blue arrow for step-by-step execution. Okay. Now what will happen if a test case fails? For example, here the previous login did not have logged out and I ran the login scenario again. So what will happen if a test case fail? You will find a red button and some of the lines as white and some of the lines as green. So why will it fail? Go to the log section. It is telling you the element name equal to email address is not found. So it was not able to find out the text box email address where it would have typed the name of the user. And the reason for it is that it was already logged in. So let's first log it out, and then if I run the scenario, it will execute successfully. So all of you, please try out this scenario on your system. Okay, so once you have tried it out, you will find out that it will not execute. Basically, it is not going to play back. Okay, so when it is not going to play back because the user is already registered. So when we are doing automation, it is extremely important that we should be aware of the behavior of the system. Only then we will be able to automate it. So if our script is failing, it is not necessary that our script is wrong or there is a bug in the system. We have to be aware that maybe it is how the application behaves. So we should be able to capture and correct these issues with our script and then try to play it back. So if I want to play back the register user scenario, what is that I will have to do every time? I will have to just change the email address. Okay. So I am just going to change the email address to record to play back the scenario for registration of the user. So doing that same, click on my account link, click on continue button, provide all the mandatory details. And you click on the continue button to register the user. So you get your account has been created, continue, go to then the log off link and the continue button. Now if I want to play back this scenario, it did not get recorded. Okay, I'll do it again quickly. Or let me just load a registration user. So the problem is if I'm going to play back this scenario, it is going to throw an error because user is already registered. So what I do in here is I change the email address. Okay. If I change the email address and I run this test case again, this will execute. If I don't do that, then I will get an error because the user is already available. So whenever registration user has to be executed, you will have to change the email address. So if I run it again, it will not execute. Okay, so we will find out the error occurs. And the error is actual value my account information did not match, your account has been created. Element TDP5, which is the button, is not found. Okay, so our scenario has failed. So this is all what we are going to learn for today. Tomorrow when we meet, we are going to talk about the how we can verify the test cases in Selenium. And before we leave for today, I just want to start talking about some of the web technologies which we are going to talk in more detail tomorrow, so that you understand and have an idea about tomorrow's class, because tomorrow we are going to mainly talk about the remaining two Selenium commands, which are validation commands, assertion commands, and accessor, and we are going to talk about the concept of locators. So the concept of locators basically allows us to create an object information which will help Selenium to recognize the object uniquely. Okay, so we want to recognize the object using some information and give that to Selenium, so that when a Selenium looks at the web application, it is able to find that web object on the web page. So we should understand that our web application at the back end is basically an HTML page which contains a lot of HTML objects. So one of the web technologies which we should be familiar of is HTML, and this is a good link to read about it. So HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, which basically says that a text is referring another text. So there is a link which refers to another link, and all this is created in the HTML. So hypertext markup language, you should be aware of that, and the HTML objects. So what are the different HTML objects? Like input box, input text box, radio button, check boxes. Then you have got table, you have got frame, you have got form, you have got the anchor tag, and so on. So these are all the HTML objects. Every HTML object will have some properties and values, and using this we are able to identify the object. Besides HTML, you have got then XML, which stands for Extended Markup Language. So as XML was created primarily to transfer the data from one source to another, and it's very important component called as XPath, the path required to traverse to the object, okay, is also used to identify the object within the web page. Then you have got CSS DOM way of recognizing the object. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets, and DOM stands for Document Object Model. So if I want to recognize the object by its look and feel, I would be using the Cascading Style Sheet. Document Object Model basically says that look at a page as if it is a tree, and based upon the association between two different nodes, which is two different objects of the same page, we create the document object model. So these are the locators which are available to us in Selenium, and how using all this we create, or Selenium IDE creates these locator values which you see on the IDE window when we run the test case. This we are going to talk about tomorrow. And from the documentation aspect, we have covered all this, and this locating elements is a very important link. If you guys get time, please do go through it. And as an assignment, you have to Explain the locator for the gender radio button in the registration scenario. Give it an attempt. Okay. And third question. Record and playback by product scenario. Okay. So these are your assignment problems. You don't have to submit the assignment by next day. You can submit the assignment during the weekend as well once you get time to complete them. So don't feel any pressure for that work. Okay. And that's all we have for today. Any questions? Does ID support reading data from a file that is email list? No, Harry. We generally don't use Selenium ID for all these activities of parameterization, etc. We will basically resort to WebDriver to do all this. Okay, then you will be getting the recording after a while because it takes some time to process it and upload the recording, and along with it, everything else. So please watch out for that email. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you all had a great learning session. Is there any feedback which you guys would want to give me? Anything which will help learning Selenium better for you guys? Okay then. Thanks a lot. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care. Bye everyone. Bye.